Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Scryfall Shenanigans. So this is one I've been meaning to do for a long time now. I think probably since the series first started, and I was lining up the land episodes, and as I didn't want to do a whole load of land ones in order, and this was one of the last ones that I came up with, it sort of got pushed back to sort of space things out a little bit. So obviously there's going to be other land ones in the future, but just out of the initial ones that sort of bounced in my head of sets that I really wanted to talk about from various positions about land in the set, this was there. And so it's great to finally get around to do this. I'm not quite sure where this episode's going to go. I mean, I've got this laid out by basically rarity, but I'm definitely leaning towards more of a sort of artwork appreciation episode, just because, these lands look fantastic. They're so iconic to me. They came along at a time when I was just... I don't know if getting back into Magic is the right word, but I think, as I've said before, my first exposure to Magic was 10th edition. Then other aspects of my life interceded, and I got, distracted by the process of sort of moving to Canada. And when I moved out to Canada, the beginning of 2010, end of 2009, 2010, Zendikar had come out, M10 had come out, and we were rolling into World Wake, and then ultimately Rise of the Eldrazi in 2010. So when I used to back then when I searched YouTube for Magic videos, and I was sort of just getting to grips with the channel generally, and I was watching events, these cards would come up, and I was opening packs of Zendikar and seeing some of these cards, they still, when I look at them now, all of them, regardless of the rarity, they still sort of just blow me away, like make me really nostalgic. So I've been really looking forward to this episode. As always, I'll include the links so that you can go down the various rabbit holes that I'm not going to go down for various reasons, probably mainly time constraints and voice constraints. Let's go in and first of all look at prices on this. So now, as we are today, these have been reprinted several times on and off, these particular lands, and you'll notice for these ones where you pay 1 life, sack the land, search the library for an island or a mountain card, put it into battlefield, then shuffle. I seem to remember at some point these were being slightly more expensive, but the price has come down since some of these have been reprinted. But you'll also notice that quite a number of these, if not all of them, actually, these particular ones, are banned in historic. They're also, you can see they've grouped together, they are the most expensive cards in the set. And we'll go in a moment how these are grouped together, because there are sort of groups of these, cycles of these. So this is the cycle of Zendikar fetch lands. Then we get into things like Valakut and Emeria. So these are interesting because these, to me, have always sounded like they should have been legendary lands. But for whatever reason, they weren't. But yeah, sound like they should have been legendary. And these ones, you can see, cheaper than the fetchlands, but reprinted in slightly different products. So a few of these coming up in Commander. Actually, in fact, Oran Reef has been reprinted quite a few times in Commander, and actually pretty pretty cheap there, 140. So there's quite a big jump here, as you can see. I seem to remember at the time these weren't that expensive. In fact, I think I may have even purchased a playset of these rather fortuitously, because I was very interested in the Valakut deck at the time, I think. Oh, there's Magosi. I honestly thought this had been reprinted, but not according to this. And then we get the commons here. So these all come into the battlefield tapped. And there's also these uncommons as well, which are uncommon dual lands. They enter the battlefield tapped. When they enter the battlefield, you gain 1 life. But it is interesting that on the price list, this one comes above the rest of these. And you can see these ones, these dual lands, which come into play tapped, have been reprinted quite a few times in various multiplayer formats. It's another card I thought had been reprinted a lot more than in fact it has, which is Piranha Marsh. But I think there are similar, like mono black comes into play tapped card in a later set that does tend to remind me of that, although it does, I think, has a different ability. There's Grey Pelt Refuge, Soaring Sea Cliff, Turn Timber Grove, and then Teetering Peaks, which was in the PDS Fire and Lightning deck. Yeah, so you can see a few of these haven't been reprinted that many, when others have. But generally, I think the Life Gain Dual Lands have been reprinted quite a few times. We'll look at the EDH positioning at the end. So let's go through the cycles. So here's the common ones, and I'm going to blow up the artwork a little bit in a moment. Before we do that, I just want to remind myself of the name of this cycle. So these are the utility lands. So they're monocolour, and you can see here when they come into play, each do something slightly different. So this, you gain 2 life. The blue one, target creature gains flying until end of turn. Piranha Marsh, the black one, enters the battlefield, target player loses 1 life. Teetering Peaks, target creature gets +2/+0. Nice in a mono red deck of the time. And then Turn Timber Grove, target creatures +1/+1 until end of turn. You can see they all tap for their respective mana. Now, because of the abilities, when you go into the Scryfall tagger, you're going to find that within the cycle, these are obviously going to be tagged up as being similar to other cards. Life Gain lands, where you get this, so you probably might be familiar with things like Radiant Fountains. There's a whole gain lands rabbit hole you can go down. And you may notice with these as well, you've got functional reprints as well. Now, if you take out the life gain, then you end up with things like this: Shivan Oasis and Timber Gorge. And I can never remember which way round this is, which is the functional reprint of which. Okay, so let's take some steps back here and zoom things up a bit. How big do we want to go? Can we do one more, do you reckon? No. I suppose it doesn't matter because we've already seen the text. Yeah. So let's try that, 300. And this just artwork is, yeah. I mean, I must have this particular cycle. I can't believe I don't have this. Yeah, no, I must have. Actually thinking about it. You've got Turn Timber Grove. There is a little character. I don't know if anybody's ever noticed it down here. Look, looks like that. Looks like a staff there. So moving on to these. So we've jumped up, obviously here, a rarity. And so these are the life lands. 2 colours, allied colours. So we'll have a quick look at the tagger. So sorry, yeah, refuge land. You notice they're all have the word refuge. And as I mentioned, these all have a corresponding functional reprint, along with the ones where they're bereft of the life gain. And obviously not as good as Tundra. Again, falling into this category of utility land because they've got that extra utility of life gain on there. But let's go big with these again. 300. Look at that, isn't that fantastic? Oh, look at this, yeah. And the little ship down here. Wow. Definitely need to dig these out again in another 15 cards episode at some point. Of all of them, I'm trying to think of the artwork that I remember most. And I think it was this for some reason. I don't know why, but yeah. That was the one that sort of sticks in my head the most. That's really lovely. And again with these, I know I've pointed out quite a few times, with land, in other sets as well, you get this really interesting, colour movement across here. So white into blue, blue into black, black into red, red into green, and then green into white. Same with the rules text area as well. Okay, so now we have 10 cards at rare. So let's just look at this in overview. So you can see it's 2 groups here. We have a group of, I suppose, more of like a utility type land. So the ones that, like I said, and we'll see whether they're marked up as being pseudo legendary or cards that should have been legendary and that sort of thing. And then we have these. So let's split them down a bit. We'll look at these first of all. And again, let's just pick one. And so named land they were called. Yeah, virtual legendary. That's the term I was trying to think of. Yeah. Now, in terms of virtual legendary land, some of these you may be familiar with. Tower of the Magistrate. Do you remember these from the City of Ravnica block? In fact, I should have done this, shouldn't I? Because I suspect We have got a few reprints here. That's better. Yeah. So now you might be. There we go. Sea of Brass, Island of Whack Whack, Library of Alexandra, Mishra's Factory, Urza's Tower, Maze of Ith, Tower of the Magistrate. Little House of Shadow. So yeah, these ones. No, that's better. Yeah, because it's obviously reprinted. So we've got the 4 from Ravnica, the 3 from Gilpack, and the 3 from Dissension. And we have these ones from Lorwyn. And it looks like we've been shortchanged on the cycle, but because these more cared about creature types. And we get this single one in Morningtide. So we go, what's that? Black red, so allied. Black green would be enemy. Blue black would be allied. White blue would be allied. And the one in Morningtide, white black would be enemy. Yeah, white blue black. Red green, yeah. Here's our ones. And then the castles from Throne of Eldraine. And then these ones from Zendikar Rising. And then you got odd ones here from Kaldheim, Strixhaven, and then the ones from Fallout. So what have we got on here? So this one is Reanimate. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 7 or more planes, you may return target creature from your graveyard to your battlefield. And you can see all of these generate the appropriate colour of mana. That comes into play tapped. I think they all come into play tapped. So that's a commonality. They all generate mana of the appropriate colour. Now, what's interesting is this one has a check at the beginning of your upkeep. If you control 7 or more planes, you may return target creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. Magosi has these Eon counters which you can put on for the cost of a blue, and then you tap it. So if you choose to put on an Eon counter in a turn and you have no way of untapping this land, then you can't then tap it for mana. So you've got a choice really. Do you tap it for mana or do you put Eon counters on it? You can remove an Eon counter from it and then remove an Eon counter from Magosi, the Water Veil, and return it to its owner's hand, and then take an extra turn after this one. Cryptovagadim. 2 tap, add black to your mana pool for each black creature in your graveyard. So full graveyard of black creatures that generates a nice amount of black mana. And then Valakut has this interesting ability on it. Whenever a mountain enters the battlefield under your control, if you control at least 5 other mountains, you may have Valakut the Molten Pinnacle deal 3 damage to target creature or player. So I think I mentioned there's a nice mono red deck. You can build around that. And then Oran Reef the Vastwood. Put a +1/+1 counter on each green creature that enters the battlefield this turn. And then if we zoom in, look at that, this is cool. These are lovely. These make really nice desktop backgrounds if you can find high resolution versions of these. Yeah, particularly this one looks really cool, doesn't it? And all of these have that, you know, it's like Zendikar adventuring theme to them, I think, don't they? You can see here there's a seemingly two or maybe a group of individuals that look like they're on some sort of quest. And then moving into the other rares in the set. These ones. So this particular cycle, as I mentioned, the cycle of fetch lands from Zendikar. And these will tutor one of two types of card. Now notice again they just say mountain or plains. It doesn't say basic mountain or basic plains. So any land card which has the type basic the type mountain or plains, whether it's a basic or a non-basic, can be used or can be sought out with these, which is useful. I think to notice, of course, they don't within themselves generate any mana. So yeah, totally manaless fetch land. Okay, so let's zoom in on this. These are going to look pretty cool, I think. Wow. Yeah, another set where these would just be, this one would make a really nice desktop background, wouldn't it? You know, all of these. I'm sure I must have opened at least one of these. I'm sure I have a Arid Mesa somewhere in one of my binders or something. Yeah. And the other thing to notice here, and you may have picked up in it already, if we just zoom out and compare, whoops. So let's just go back to 175. So you notice, so red, white, white, black, green, blue, blue, red, black, green. So these are all allied. I'm sorry, not allied. Enemy colour combinations. Yeah. So enemy colour combinations. We spoke there. And then if we look at the cycle of uncommon ones, you'll see these are the allied ones. So the uncommons are allied, and the rare ones are enemy coloured. Now the other thing I was just going to check, because I'm pretty sure, you know, let's just make sure I haven't missed any mythics in the set that will land. Where are we? Set. No. It's always a worry there. Yeah. I think it was one of the later sets, didn't it have? I was just trying to think around this time, wasn't there? Yeah. I was trying to think what it was. I have Ugin was in World Wake. And was there anything like that in Rise of the Eldrazi? Make sure I've got it. Set is, so I thought Rise of the Eldrazi was ROTE, but it's just, maybe I was right. Just, yeah, okay, it is RLE. Okay, so in that block, the only mythic land is yeah, Ugin, which is a legendary land. Pretty expensive. Banned in Modern. Do I have one of these? I'll have to check. And then, oh yeah, first of all, I'll save the best till last. So we'll do the EDHRec ranking first. And no surprise to see, like out of all the cycles, we've got these ones bubbling to the top. Then we have the other rares with Grey Pelt Refuge jumping above Cryptovagadine. Then from there onwards we have the Gain Lands, and then we have the mono coloured stuff. Interestingly enough, Magosi is right down here. Of the virtual legendaries, what's the highest up one? Is it Oran? Reef the Vastwood, yeah. So let's just look at some stats here. Okay, yep. Wow. Let's go through to here. Okay. And then the next occurrence of a different type would be, well, this one, wouldn't it? Grey Pelt Refuge. Yep. 41,000x. And then for the commons, we have Cobra Crossroads, which 1%. What's the average deck look like for this? There we go. I see Reliquary Tower. There is something about this sort of period in Magic I was thinking about this before I did the video, like I feel really strongly pulled towards those sort of sets. So Shards of Alara, Conflux of Alara Reborn, into Zendikar, World Wake, Rise of the Eldrazi, and then into Scars of Mirrodin, into Mirrodin Besieged, into New Phyrexia. Yeah, that sort of those 3 years. Something about those 3 years. Yep. It's like in some ways like my favourite run of Magic sets. Okay, I said save the best till last. So let's zoom in. And of course we had in this set full art lands. So we won't go super big, but we'll get pretty close. Enough to see if can we go one more? Oh yeah, just about fits. That's good. Okay. So yeah, full art lands. But yeah, these are really cool. I was trying to think if this is the first time. Isn't it the first time they'd done full art lands in a set that wasn't an unset? Because up until that point it had been unsets that had them in them. But yeah, these were pretty sought after. And then later on, I think the funny thing is the first time So there was an instance later on in Magic's history where they again printed full art lands in a set, but they made them available as a number of them in was it the fat pack? And I remember that particular fat pack, which went on to be being renamed as a bundle. I think at that point they were still referred to as fat packs. Yeah, they were really difficult to get hold of because of the presence of full art lands. And I can remember prior to that set coming out, I bought some full art lands, and they weren't eye-watering expensive, but they were definitely a lot more expensive than regular lands. And I like this with the hedrons. So with these, you can sort of see, it's difficult to when we got them so big, but yeah, you can see what they've done here is you have there's, if you sort of look at this one and then you compare it with the same one, you can see it's just more of the art. And these islands, yeah, the lands were just super interesting looking, weren't they? I never really paid a lot of attention to this before, actually. This is pretty cool. Very nice. And these, I remember that's right, the full arts for the swamps, I think, are particularly impressive from what I remember. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it was this set where I just bought I was putting together a deck builders, not deck builders tool, what do you call them, like Pack Wars toolkit. I think I've got a Pack Wars toolkit, unless I gave it away as a present to somebody. I don't think I did. I think I built another one to do that, but yeah, I think I've still got a version of it which has full art land in it. I'm pretty sure from this set. I'll have to dig that out, actually. That would be a really cool artwork episode. It's interesting, isn't it? Because it's is it 4 of each? So yeah, maybe I don't have the full size, because I'm just thinking for a Pack Wars toolkit, it's normally 3 of each colour, isn't it? So maybe I just picked my favourite 3 pieces of artwork from the set, or the ones that were available, or maybe the cheapest 3 for each colour. I don't know. This is, oh dear, this is so cool. This artwork. So that one there. Yeah, I'm strangely drawn to the swamps. It's funny. Oh, look at this. Wow. It's a very interesting looking abode. What I'm just going to do is just go into here. Let me just zoom out for a moment. Okay, so it was reused in Commander. Oh, cool. Did come up in battle for Zendikar. Good. Okay. Australia remastered. So does that mean... Oh, yeah, same artist. Everything restored. Soren versus Tybalt. Okay. This first is cursed. It's an interesting variant, isn't it? There. Shadows over Innistrad. Although it's the same artwork, it looks like it's got slightly different... Something different about this. I don't know if it's just the colour. Could be the scan, of course. I don't know. That is fascinating. You've got like these almost like 3 different representations of sorts. Huh. Oh, and the Graveborn deck. Yeah, I forgot about that. What was the art for the... PDS Graveborn. Oh, there we go. Oh, wow. Nice. Oh yeah, that's from Shards of Alara. Right. Yeah, it looks like we're going down a bit of a... Oh yes, of course, that was the other thing about... Yeah, with Shards of Alara, the artwork was quite different, wasn't it? Yeah. It's coming back to me now. That's pretty old school, those ones. That one doesn't look out of place in something like, I don't know, a Ravnica set. Awesome. So there we have it. I'll include all the links to these because, yes, this is the sort of one you could just spend hours going down all sorts of routes, particularly with the artwork side of things. So thanks once again for watching. Bye for now, and I will catch you in a future episode.